Ladies and gentlemen, it's Roella's Gussie back at it again with another video today. And as from the previous video, we're just going to be continuing with what I want to be animated, whether it's live action already or hasn't been adapted at all, right? But to cut to the chase, right off the bat, Scott Pilgrim. Wow. Now this is just a shocker to me, especially because of how iconic the comics are, like the comics have such a cool artistic style. And whenever Hollywood decided like, hey, we're gonna make a Scott Pilgrim adaptation, I thought it was weird that they decided to go the live action route, because I'm like, that's weird. Like, it's the same case with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but obviously I'm not going to be discussing Diary of a Wimpy Kid in this video because, we already had an animation adaptation on Disney Plus, which in my opinion, it's not really that great. It's kind of a disappointment, unfortunately. But Scott Pilgrim, right? Now, I do give the live action film a lot of credit. I really like the artistic and the aesthetic of the film because they definitely tried to go the campy route, I suppose, but it doesn't look campy. I'm not trying to insult the film, but I think campy is the best way to describe it, because it's like they try to make it like the comics but in live action, but the way they did it so uniquely. Like it looks really, really cool. Like I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. So I do love the film. I do love Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim, and Aubrey Plaza and Chris Evans. Like, I thought the cast was perfect, and I did like the film. It was really entertaining. But I'm just like, wow, how has this not been animated? Like, how have we not have, like, how is there not an animated adaptation? It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like by now in 2023, we would have had some sort of animated adaptation, whether it was a film or a TV show, but we have yet to see that. And I'm just like, what? How? Like, seriously, how? Like, that has to be one of the biggest missed opportunities in Hollywood. And I'm just gonna keep it short and simple because it's just a self-explanatory thing. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where like everyone just virtually agrees on, oh yeah, that should definitely be animated. And so I wouldn't doubt if an animation is around the corner, but again, considering it's 2023, how have we not had an animation yet? I just don't understand. It's weird. It's so weird. I don't know. But moving forward with the next spot on my list, I'm going to have to go with Percy Jackson. Now, for those of you who don't know, Percy Jackson is actually getting a Disney Plus remake series, but it's going to be live action, and I think it should be debuting next year because I'm pretty sure they finished filming already. And honestly, I'm pretty excited because I did like the film, even though it's very, very loose from the book. But I thought it was still an entertaining film, and I did watch it when I was little, so, it was pretty entertaining. Like, it'll always have a special place in my heart, probably because of nostalgia. But once again, in the same sense of Harry Potter and, well, yeah, I guess Harry Potter, because Percy Jackson is also like an adaptation that's kind of hard to replicate in live action, right? Because Percy Jackson has Poseidon's powers, right? So he's always like shooting water, or he's always like manipulating water, and in live action, it's kind of hard to replicate that. Well, not necessarily. I mean, I think they could do a good job because it's water. It's not like it's, magic, which is harder to do. But imagine Percy Jackson as an animated series with the the style of the book covers, right? Because you can make the characters look exactly like the descriptions, which is something I forgot to mention about Harry Potter, by the way. Because I think the live action films did a great job at recreating the characters. But obviously, going the animated route, you can easily, make the characters way more accurate to the source material, right? Because, Hermione, J.K. Rowling describes her as being like bucktooth and kind of ugly, but in the films, Emma Watson obviously doesn't display that, that look or description. And it's actually kind of funny because J.K. Rowling had talked to Emma Watson on the phone. And she hadn't met Emma Watson in person, and she didn't know who she was because obviously she wasn't famous at the time. But just from talking to Emma Watson, J.K. Rowling was like, "This is my Hermione," right? But then she met Emma Watson, and she was so brutally honest. She just straight up said, "Yeah, if I had known how she looked, I would have never casted her." And I'm just like, whoa, that's crazy. I mean, but I don't blame her because, she's the author. Like, this is her work. So obviously she wants it to be as accurate as possible. But, that would be the same case with Percy Jackson because the actor who's playing Percy Jackson, he doesn't really look like him. And I'm pretty sure he's blind. And I don't think they're going to dye his hair or he's going to wear a wig, which I guess it's fine. I guess that's fine, but I mean, you're not going to have black hair Percy Jackson, But, I mean, are we going to see a animated Percy Jackson soon? Probably not. Especially if the Disney Plus show succeeds, we're not going to see an animated adaptation soon. But, I mean, never say never, right? Because, Harry Potter, they're also doing that. And I don't know why, I feel more confident with Harry Potter. I think it's just because Harry Potter has a bigger fan base. And then plus, it has a lot of spin-offs. So if they really wanted to, they could just make a spin-off animated, which I think that would make me happy. Because again, seeing Hogwarts animated, that would make me happy. Like just to see that setting and that, it would just give that magical feeling. Like, it would just make the magical feeling way stronger than, something in live action. Right? But yes, Percy Jackson, please. It needs to be animated, okay? Now, moving forward, we're going to be discussing Stephen King novels, okay? Now, from my understanding, a Stephen King novel has never been animated, but correct me if I'm wrong on that, because I'm not too sure, right? But the thing about Stephen King is most of his adaptations work live action because his books are kind of real. Well, they're not necessarily realistic, but they're not like super outrageous to where it just would be better in an animated setting, right? The best example would be Misery, right? Which I hope it gets remade, by the way, because it's such a good. I really like the original, but it's just such a eerie story because of how realistic it is, right? Like I feel like that can happen in real life, which is scary. Like it makes it all the more scary. But you know, Misery, that works as live action perfectly because obviously it's a really realistic story. So, you know, like I don't really need an animated version of Misery, right? But something like Stephen King's It, or Children of Corn, or Pet Sematary. Now those films, those books, I'm like, bro, you know, now that needs to be animated. The Dark Tower too. Like imagine it as animated, and imagine it as a TV series, meaning we get more book accurate scenes. How cool would that be? Now, I don't know what the style animation would be, but I would hope it's 2D animation. Like I wouldn't want it to be 3D animation. But it would just be so cool because it's like Pennywise is so disturbing. Like I feel as though the Georgie scene can be way more disturbing if it was animated, even though it's already disturbing live action. And I think Bill Skarsgård and Tim Curry kill it as Pennywise. But when it comes to animation, it's just wow. Like you just have so much creativity. Like I think you can make Pennywise truly terrifying to the point where you have nightmares about him or you can't sleep because he just looks so scary in the animation, you know? You know, Stephen King's It absolutely deserves to be animated. 100%, you know? And then obviously it would be more accurate to the books as well, you know? Or the book, I should say. It's only one book. But, yeah. Please, 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 Warner Brothers. You know, I know they're making a Pennywise origin story show, which I hope Pennywise is in it a lot. But you know, an animated series would be super, super awesome, of course. And just any Stephen King novel for that matter, right? But moving forward, and I believe this is the last entry on my list, I might make another video unless you know, something comes up to me. But I think I don't know how to pronounce his name, Roald Dahl, I believe. I'm so sorry if I'm slaughtering that pronunciation. But he was behind Willy Wonka, Holes, Witches, Mr. Fantastic Fox, a really, really legendary author who made a lot of our childhood, right? Now, yes, some of his books did get animated. James and the Giant Peach got animated. And then there was another one. Oh, wait, no. Oh, Mr. Fantastic Fox, that counts as an animation because it's stop motion, right? But tell me why, okay? Tell me why, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong. But tell me why Willy Wonka, Witches, BFG, holes. Why weren't those animated? Okay, now maybe Holes makes a lot more sense because Holes is kind of grounded. So, that's why the live action film works so perfectly because it's kind of realistic in a sense. And don't get me wrong, I love, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I mean, I guess the film with Timothy Chalamet, I guess it looks alright. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about it. And then you have, what do you call it? What was the other book I was talking about? Oh, Witches. I think Witches got animated. I'm not too sure. But how would they not been animated? Like, it just screams. It screams to be animated. Like, Charlie, I don't remember what the book's called. I'm pretty sure it's Charlie. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory can be so much more creative if it's animated. And it's like the same sense of Harry Potter, where it can give that magical essence of book charm, right? Because Willy Wonka is a very, very expressive character. Like, imagine if he's animated, they can make so much more intriguing than what an actor can pull off in live action, right? And I'm not, dissing the actors who played Willy Wonka, but I'm just saying, compare that to animation, and it's like, whoa, animation, he's so fluid, he's so quick, And the same goes for Witches. I mean, imagine how creepy Witches can be as an animation, especially in the book art style. That would just be really, really awesome, right? A perfect example of what I'm discussing is in Across the Spider-Verse, right? Now, of course, Spider-Man has been animated multiple times, but Across the Spider-Verse is the first time Spider-Man was animated on a high, budget, like on the film scale, like theater scale. And there's this scene in Across the Spider-Verse where Miles grabs his dad's cake and he's rushing to go to his dad's party because he's already late. So he goes through the stairs, right? So he's going from the bottom of the stairs to the top of the stairs. But as he's doing it, he's like using his Spider-Man parkour skills. And he's like changing his clothes. And he's like grabbing the cake. Like, it was such a smooth and fluid scene, right? And the main reason why that could have been done is because it was animated, right? Because in live action, that couldn't be replicated because either A, it would look silly, B, it's just physically impossible to do live action, or C, they would need to do CGI, which again wouldn't look right. Or it just wouldn't look authentic, right? But because it was animated, it was like, whoa, this looks awesome. This is like straight out of the comics, So that's the same case with, Willy Wonka. It's like, whoa, Willy Wonka, he can be so much more expressive, same with the Oompa Loompas, same with Witches and BFG and so on and so forth, It really surprises me that he has that, Roald Dahl's book adaptations are more live action than they are animated. I just don't understand that. Like, see what I mean? Like with Harry Potter, it's like, okay, that makes sense to go the live action route. Like, at least that makes that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you look from Warner Brothers' perspective and you think, okay, yeah, makes sense. Lord of the Rings, yeah, live action. You know, I already had animated. You know, it could work as live action. But then you have stuff like Scott Pilgrim and Roald Dahl's live action adaptations, where, don't get me wrong, I love them, but it's like, okay, why was this live action? like what made them decide to make it live action? Like, I just don't, like, was there really not one person in the room that suggested, hey, let's make this animated? Because it's just a common sense thing. I don't know how to explain it. It's just one of those things that you just look at it and you immediately, without hesitation, this is animated. It was born to be animated. You know what I mean? It's like Bones, right? Or Bone. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a damn shame that I got canceled by Netflix. Like, what the hell? But imagine, like, if they made that live action, it would be like, what? Like, why? Like, why would you make that live action? Like, it just screams animation. You know what I mean? Like I just don't get why they would choose to be like, oh, let's make this, live action. Like, it's also why anime is super, super hard to make live action, because most animes are super outrageous and out of the world. So it's kind of like, wow, like, how can you replicate that in live action? Which is why it's kind of concerning, like with One Piece. One Piece is a little concerning because it can be pretty wacky in the anime. That's why Netflix decided to do live action remakes with Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, because it's like, okay, these animes are pretty simplistic, right? Like, these can translate well into live action, but of course, they slaughtered the hell out of Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, because they could have really been something great. They just had a good writing team, but of course they didn't. So it was like, okay, that's great. But, hopefully, maybe we could get that at some point. Who knows? Maybe in the next video. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I want to be animated, or to have an animated adaptation. We can only hope for the future, because most of these projects, it's kind of hard to say whether they'll get animated or not, especially like with things such as Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, because they're already getting live action remakes. But in the sense of Scott Pilgrim or The Walking Dead, I think it's more likely that we will see animations of those, especially Scott Pilgrim, because the film is already so old that by this point, I wouldn't be surprised if a animation was announced, whether it was a film or a show. But let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Let me know what you want to see as an animation, whether it's a live action that already exists, or whether it's a book or comic that you want to see adapted, and you would hope that it's, animated rather than live action. That's going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave a like and comment below if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a good day. Peace.